What's up everyone on the internet? Thinking this video party. I'm so excited to upload this one for you guys because this video we're going back to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with the franchise's second season, part 3, Stardust Crusaders. So from what I've been told and from what I've seen all over social media, this is where the series starts to go off the walls with all the fight scenes. Rightfully so, because after binging through all of part 3, I was literally out of breath by the end of the season. More on that later. But anyway, this part of the series was released back in 2014, follows the newest Jojo, Jotaro Kujo, who is the grandson of Joseph Joestar. Now, just like I mentioned in my last video, one of the things I really like about the series is how with each new installment, the story drastically changes the newest Jojo in order to make him stand out from the rest. And Jotaro is no exception, as you see that he is pretty much the toughest and baddest Jojo we've seen so far, to where he has this look that says, I'm about to kick your ass. But going back to the main story, the entire season is centered around the focal point where Jojo's mom has been cursed and needs to travel with his grandfather all the way to Egypt where they can break the curse. Seems simple enough, except for one thing. The dude who cast the curse on Jojo's mom just so happens to be none other than Dio Brando. When I learned that Dio was back, I was so excited to see the return of one of my favorite anime villains, and the way the story portrays him is pretty epic. More on that later. But anyway, the story takes off after the first couple episodes where we see both Jotaro and Joseph go on a crazy adventure with several other characters who want to help take down Dio. Now, what also makes this season different from the first is that instead of using Hamon to fight against Dio and his minions, this is where the series starts to introduce the concept of stand users. To clarify things, stands are a sort of supernatural entity that represent an individual psychic energy that usually takes a physical/spiritual form that also has supernatural powers. I know there's probably a better way to explain this, but sometimes things are easier done than said. We see these spirits engage in these heavyweight fights throughout the entire second season. Now for Jotaro, his stand is Star Platinum, which you can see right here in the poster right next to me, and has the ability of super speed, which is insane when you see this thing just beat the living crap out of people. And almost every other character we come across in the second season also has a stand with its own unique superpowers. And let me tell you, some of the stands and characters are super crazy. I guess there's a reason why it's called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because some of the bad guys we fight include an orangutan with a boat stand, Oingo Boingo, and Vanilla Ice. Yeah, there were times where I was so confused as to what was happening on screen. And this sort of leads into the overall problem that I had with this season, as it clocks in at a total of 48 episodes. Also, when you take into consideration that each episode is pretty much a fight, the entire season is basically a knockdown dragout with Dio and his minions. Now, while there were times where the season had some great episodes, there were also times where the season had not so good episodes. And since each episode is pretty much one fight after another, as you progress through the season, you start to feel exhausted. Which goes back to what I said at the beginning of the video, because by the time I got to the final fight with Dio, I was already tired from all the other fights that came before. But even though I was exhausted, I still enjoyed several episodes. Aside from the final fight with Dio, one of my favorite episodes actually involves a fight between a dog and a falcon who both have stands. We have Iggy, who is this little dog that uses a stand that can shapeshift using sand, and we also have Pet Shop, who is this falcon that can shoot ice missiles and is the definition of a vicious predator. Throughout the episode, we see these two play a game of cat and mouse as Iggy does whatever he can to get away from Pet Shop, who just keeps coming. Seriously, what the heck is with this bird? I mean, who does he think he is, Bruce Lee? Because throughout the episode, just when Iggy thinks that he's finally gotten rid of Pet Shop, this bird comes right around the corner with something special for this dog. And by the time you get to the big finale, you are on the edge of your seat as you are rooting for this dog. I have never felt so pumped in a JoJo episode since the season 1 finale. Because when I saw Iggy pull through, I was like, there you go, Iggy, that's a good boy, that's a good boy, you're a good dog, Iggy. So yeah, out of all the fights we've seen in the second season, aside from Dio, my favorite fight is Iggy versus Pet Shop. With that being said, let's talk about Dio. Going back to what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, one of the things I really liked about this season was how the story portrayed Dio. Seeing that he was going to be the final boss, the story does a great job of hyping him up throughout the entire season. And by the time we make it to the final 4 episodes, that is where we get to see Dio unleashed, as he has a stand of his own. Masaka. Dio no stand. The world. Okay, out of all the stands we see throughout the entire second season, his was the most badass. Maybe it's the way Dio calls out its name. Or maybe it's the fact that this is the one stand that can go toe to toe with Star Platinum and give it a run for its money. I mean, Damn, that stand was awesome. Seriously, if someone ever asks me, who do you think can beat Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, I'm bringing Dio into the fight. And since this is Dio, that means we get the return of his most famous catchphrase. Again, just like how I mentioned in my last video, I sometimes find myself saying that thing over and over and over around the house. Again, all the more reason to love Dio. Also, going back to my last video, he was already a problem in season 1, and that was when he didn't have a stand. Now that he has Zafwell, though, this dude just raised the stakes and pretty much cemented himself as one of the baddest anime villains I've seen in a long time. Until I see Muzan Kibutsuji from Demon Slayer in action, Dio is now one of my top favorite anime villains. So overall, I really enjoyed part 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, even though it sucked the life out of me by the end of the season. Now looking back at both this and the first season, I still prefer the first season. Maybe it's because I get to see 2 JoJos for the price of 1, or maybe it's because season 1 is pretty much half the size of season 2, which makes it a lot more easier for me to binge through. But despite that, I still had a great time. However, seeing that this season really sucked the life out of me, I think I'm going to take a break from JoJo for now and get back to season 3 later. But I am looking forward to binging through part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. That was my overall review for season 2 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you like what you saw, click the subscribe button so you can get all these updates from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.